What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content with your boy Chris Kane. Let's talk about the Dolphins. Following the big win against the Buffalo Bills, the Dolphins have decided to do more front office purging. We have let go two of our co-directors of personnel. These are people who help with scouting, people who help the GM do their job. It's Anthony Hunt and Adam Engroff. These guys have been with the organization forever. I'm talking 1994 and 1999 in varying roles, but they've been with the organization for that long. That's over 25 years for each of them. Long tenure. Basically, they've been here for the entirety of us not doing anything for the last 25 years. But long-term employees. And for them to be let go now in the middle of the season, I didn't get an exact reason why it was like now. I guess it would have made more sense when Chris Greer got fired to fire them too, because again, their jobs work hand in hand. Like they do like college scouting, they look at, waiver wires and sometimes arena league guys to see if maybe like that's what the GM does. The GM's job is to curate talent and dole out contracts, and their job is to find talent for the GM. But we waited a week, and here we are. I don't know, there was no like official statement from the team. I'm sure that's going to come out over the next day or two. Thank y'all for the long tenure and for all you've given to our organization. Here's what this means to me. This means that there's a turning over of the guard in some capacity. Again, outside of Coach McDaniel, who I do think is going to be here next year, it seems like Stephen Ross is saying, hey, man, it's been a long time. Okay. I haven't won really at all as an owner. Like, at all. If you want to just look at win-loss, playoff record, Super Bowl wins, one of the worst ownership tenures ever. He's done nothing. Now, I'm not saying he hasn't done anything in terms of trying to make the team better. He went and got Parcells. He's went and got big free agents. He went and got Coach McDaniel, drafted Tua, moved picks around. I'm not saying he hasn't done anything as an owner to make the team better. I'm saying the team hasn't gotten better. And there's no enduring legacy from his ownership. And the people who helped him run the team have obviously not done their job well, which is why they're no longer here. So this feels like there's going to be a new GM, new personnel people. They may even move some other organizations around, some other pieces around the organization, get a bunch of new blood in there, figure out what is it we've been doing for 25 years of drafts, what is it we've been doing in finding free agent talent that hasn't been working, and let's bring people in who know how to make it work. Because outside of the Cleveland Browns, which even during their tenure, they had the Brandon Weeden blip year. They had obviously Baker Mayfield like bleep year. Like they've had years at least in this last 25 where it's like, okay, cool. Like Baker Mayfield won a playoff game for Cleveland. We have not won a playoff game. That's how bad we've been for the last 2 decades plus. Where the New York Jets have been to 2 AFC championship games. And the Jets suck. But at least they've had moments of greatness. The Jets currently have the longest playoff drought because, again, poorly run organization, but at least in the last 25 years, they have something. What is the thing that we hold on to? It's the 70-point game and the game 2 days ago. Other than that, there is nothing to be like hype about from an ownership total perspective. So I don't mind this at all. I didn't honestly know these guys existed because they've been kind of behind the scenes. I think a lot of people don't think we have a ton of talent in certain places, and it seems like we haven't scouted or drafted particularly well. So I would say the firing seems to be justified. I have I have no idea who they're looking at to bring in, but I'm here for new blood, new direction. I don't know, just if we're going to go forward with Coach McDaniel, who I do think can be the guy. I'm not anti-Coach McDaniel. I'm just saying Coach McDaniel's resume is similar to those guys. It's just for a shorter period of time. But if you believe he is the guy, then we have to put all the pieces in place to allow him to be the guy. And some of that means talent. Some of that means salary cap. I got to be able to do my job. And if those guys up top weren't doing their job, then Coach can't do his job. And so if Coach is the guy, then you got to build around that vision, which means you got to start over in some other places. Now, I gave a little bit of love to the defense before on yesterday's episode, but I do feel like there's more love to be given out. I didn't give Bradley Chubb enough love, who I've been on and off on this year because he started really hot, then got a little chill in the middle, but yesterday played an amazing game. Bradley Chubb individually had 10 quarterback pressures he's credited with. 10. That's crazy. There's games where the Dolphins haven't got 10 pressures. Bradley Chubb by himself got 10 pressures and a sack. That could be a full stop right there. But I'm not going full stop there because the defense kept making plays. One of the biggest issues playing Buffalo that we've had over the years is that Josh Allen, outside of the script, has destroyed us. Josh will break the pocket, do that slow run to the sideline, wave his hand a couple times, and you're like, who is he waving to? And then you'll see the ball just come floating in the air 40 yards into somebody's hand as if it was a punt. And it's so frustrating. He had a couple of those plays on Sunday. But in general, every time he was flushing the pocket, these DBs were plastered to wide receivers. I mean, these guys were running slant, then whips, then upfield stop routes, and the DBs are like, you ain't going nowhere. They were on top of those dudes, and they made him hold the ball longer. They forced him to get knocked out of bounds and throw the ball away a number of times, or just tuck it and scramble it, which honestly, not the worst case scenario. Like, yes, he can scramble for 8 to 12 yards, and that's annoying, but him throwing the ball 30, 40 yards over your head, or, God forbid, a touchdown, way worse. They did their job. We've talked all year about the defense not being good in the secondary. That was probably our number one biggest thing going into this year. Before we got Minka, it was what's up with this secondary. These guys are not good. Once Ramsey got traded, it was like, what are we talking about? And then we had a rash of injuries. We haven't been able to cover really at any point this year. And they chose Sunday to be their most locked in. I mean, Josh Allen had the ball at points for almost 10 seconds, just running around, pirouetting, doing this. And I'm like, dude, there's no way those guys are still covering. When they showed the wide view, all you saw was white jerseys just all over them. I mean, it was a fantastic effort. We also didn't have to blitz that much. The front four, again, no chop. Jalen's obviously been traded. Judon, whatever. He's out here, but, to me, relatively non-impactful. It was mostly Chubb and just interior pressure. They got consistent four-man pressure with guys who this year have not been good at rushing the passer. They just haven't been. There's been too many guys sitting in the pocket tapping the rock, and so we've been blitzing to get after quarterbacks, which, of course, puts our secondary in danger. But this game, it was the front four doing work, Chubb especially, and then those guys in the back end were just locked in. The number of times I saw DBs going up for the ball, knocking passes away, or at least contesting the catch and not simply making a tackle because they gave up a 40-yard reception. It was just... So I had to double back and give them a little bit more love because I was just proud. More good news. The Dolphins may be getting some people back from the IR. As you guys know, we've had a ton of guys hurt. Most are out for the year. But a couple have not been. Austin Jackson, James Daniels, Liam Eichenberg, Jason Sanders. All these guys theoretically can come back and have all been on an IR long enough that they, if they were healthy, could have come back already. Some of us have forgotten these guys were even on the team because they haven't been playing. But Coach McDaniel says there's a possibility that starting this week, we could start getting a couple of them back. And if so, we can start getting healthy at a, I can't say perfect time, but it's a time. Here's what he said specifically. I'll have a firm answer on Wednesday. Right now, between the logistics of coaching through the film from this morning and then traveling to another country, I don't really have an exact picture. We're all traveling, and there is a chance that somebody does. But we'll see if that somebody, if that someone does. Sorry. Now, I do not know who that someone or somebody is. My inclination is to say James Daniels because he's been on an IR basically the entire season, and his injury didn't seem to be super significant. I don't think Darren Waller is this somebody or someone. And maybe even Jason Sanders, who we thought at one point would be out for the year, and then it was like, well, he's not really on IR, he's just not playing. And then Riley Patterson missed an extra point on Sunday. That may be just the opening to get him back. I think it's also easier to reacclimate a kicker to the team than it is to put an offensive lineman who now has to gel with the offensive lineman around him. But it seems like at some point we'll be getting James and Austin back. And then I would love to see what the offense actually looks like when we have our full offensive line. Again, Jonah's been playing a little bit better lately, less of a liability. But if we get those two guys back on the right side, and then we still bring that six offensive lineman, Daniel Brunskill look, then we might actually, dare I say it, be a legitimate running team. And then finally, Tua can feel protected on that right side, which, traditionally has not been great this year. And if we're protected, then he can actually sit in there and feel confident making the throws, which up until Sunday has been a little hit or miss. We will see what happens. I don't want to get my hopes up too much, but it does seem like over the next couple of weeks, we should be getting guys back. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen on Sunday because, again, they do have to fly to Spain. But hopefully, by the time you see this episode, we'll have some reporting and hopefully some good reporting, fingers crossed, knock on wood, that we start getting some of these guys back. And we're not going to be, our full selves. We have a number of guys out for the year. But just getting a couple back will be nice. Speaking of the game on Sunday, we're playing the Commanders. I will say the biggest, in this game is that we don't have to play Daniels. He is out, unfortunately. I like the kid. He's a good player. But Jaden is out. He has an elbow injury. If you saw the play, grotesque. If you haven't seen it, don't look at it. It looks bad. So we're going to be playing against Marcus Mariota, who is a decent backup, but a not so great starter. Like Mariota really wants to run a lot more than he wants to throw at this point, and he's fairly inaccurate, and there's not a lot of extra juice there. Terry McLaurin, I also don't believe will play in the game, which is also great because I think Terry McLaurin is a really good receiver. He's been out a bunch of this year. He just hasn't been great. He hasn't been physically great. I think as a player he is. So defensively, I think we should be in a decent place. Luke McCaffrey should be out. Obviously, Jaden and Terry McLaurin as well. So you're playing against basically Deebo Samuel, who has shown flashes, a 94-year-old Zach Ertz, and then Marcus Mariota, right? They have backups at running back. This feels like defensively a situation that is kind of prime for us. This offense is not explosive. Deebo is not super fast. He is still Deebo. He's still physical. So if they are going to give him reverses and bubble screens and that kind of stuff, you got to get Deebo down. If you don't, Deebo will just punch and high knee kick and karate chop you down the field for a touchdown. We've seen Deebo punish defenders. So you got to get Deebo on the ground. But they don't have anyone on the outside in this game that should scare the secondary, which showed up well against Josh, but we should be good in that matchup. And again, on the interior, their running backs they're not league average. What do you call them? They're like replacement level running backs. Like McCorsky, Merritt, or may I have his name backwards? He's fine. He's just fine. He's not elite. He's not a game breaker. He's fine. I think defensively, we should be on the hunt. Now, Marcus can run, and Marcus is still a fairly big dude. He's still 6'4", 220, 225. He's not a small dude, so when you get to Mariota, you have to get him down because if he breaks contain, he can still run. So that's a concern. But I'm not worried about him being in the pocket, just sitting and making throws all game. I think that's really favorable for us. Defensively, their secondary is trying to get better. They got Amos out of Ole Miss. Y'all know SEC, y'all guy over here, who I think is going to be a good corner. He's young. He's young right now, so, we'll see. Marcus Lattimore, to me, I'm not going to say he's washed, but he's not the guy he was for the Saints. So I don't think their secondary is great. They have moments, but I think you can throw the ball against them. Their pass rush can sometimes get after you. So I'm looking at that matchup, especially depends on if we start getting people back from the offensive line. Their pass rush could be a little bit of an issue, but I think if we can protect Tua, he can throw in the secondary. There will be places to throw. You can have a rookie one-on-one with Waddle at various points or Nick or whoever, and that should be a matchup you can exploit. And Jalen should be much faster than anybody they have in their secondary. If you keep Tua upright, I do think there'll be moments to have there. But I think we should be leaning on the run as always. Bobby Wagner's still there. Legend. probably future Hall of Famer. But Bobby Wagner, again, pretty sure 107 years old. So if Bobby Wagner is the guy that's like destroying our offense, then we're not doing our job on offense. I think there should be lanes to run. There should be lanes to pass. We should be able to stop their defense or stop their offense. On paper, as of now, barring any reporting of guys coming back and IRs and injuries and that kind of stuff, this sets up favorably for us. If Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin were playing, whole different matchup. Jaden is way more dynamic. Terry gets out in the field. Great in contested catches. Changes the whole game. As of now, and I'll do my final reporting later in the week, this is a matchup that should favor the Dolphins, and we should go into this game a little confident. But as always, y'all, thank you for tuning in to Dolphins Daily. We appreciate the love and support. Thank y'all for the likes and the subscribes. We'll see you next time on Dolphins Daily. Peace.